The envelope was addressed to my younger brother, but it came to my house because I had helped him set up direct deposit years earlier. Inside was a pay statement showing that Leo Reed had worked 14 hours a week for the previous 9 months. I knew that was impossible. I was 63, recently retired as a regional safety auditor, and I had driven Leo to ReedWorks every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday since the day my son opened the place. Leo packed his brass lunchbox at 6:30, clocked in before 8, and usually came home after 4. 14 hours was not a mistake. It was a disappearance. The next page said Leo had been reclassified as an unpaid vocational trainee. At the bottom, my son Nathan had typed a note, "Employee retired for safety reasons. Family notified." No one had notified me. That same afternoon, Nathan posted a photograph online of Leo standing beside the loading dock with a cardboard box in his arms. The caption said ReedWorks would honor Uncle Leo's inspiring retirement at the company's 10th anniversary celebration on Saturday. Leo was 58. He did not want to retire, and when I counted the missing hours against the calendar he kept beside his bed, I came up with 470. Before I tell you what my son had built on top of those missing hours, understand this: Nathan did not think I would check. He thought retirement had made me soft, and he thought Leo's disability made him easy to erase. He was wrong about both of us. Leo is 4 years younger than I am. When he was 6, a case of meningitis left him with hearing loss, slower processing, and a slight tremor in his left hand. Doctors told my parents not to expect much. My father answered by building Leo a lower workbench in the garage. My mother answered by teaching him to read recipes one line at a time. Leo answered for himself. He learned bus routes before I learned to drive. He could remember every employee birthday in a building, but sometimes needed a minute to understand a joke. He hated being called special by people who had not learned his last name. He loved order red pencils, baseball radio, and a particular brass lunchbox our father bought him when he got his first paid job at a hardware warehouse. That lunchbox had dents from 3 decades of work. Every Sunday night, Leo laid out 3 shirts for the week. Every workday, he drew one small vertical line on a paper calendar when he clocked in, and another when he clocked out. He did not do it because anyone asked. He did it because numbers made the week feel honest. Nathan grew up with that ritual. He used to sit on the floor beside Leo and add the lines with a blue crayon. My son was 38 when this happened. He had my height, his late mother's quick smile, and a talent for making strangers feel that they had been waiting to meet him. He could walk into a room full of donors, business owners, or county officials and make them believe an idea was already successful. ReedWorks had begun as one of those ideas. 10 years earlier, Nathan came home after volunteering with a job training program and said our city needed a real workshop where adults with disabilities could earn ordinary wages doing ordinary work. Not a charity photo opportunity, a business. I believed him. I had spent 34 years inspecting factories, warehouses, food plants, and assembly lines. I knew how to design workstations that reduced strain, how to separate foot traffic from forklifts, and how to turn repetitive tasks into safe, measurable steps. Nathan knew sales. His mother Ellen had known people. We used an old printing warehouse my parents had bought in the 1970s. I owned the building with Leo through a family trust, but ReedWorks paid fair rent and operated as a separate nonprofit corporation. I joined the board, designed the original safety program, and served as unpaid safety advisor. Nathan became executive director. Leo was employee number 3. The first contract involved assembling welcome kits for a regional hospital network. Leo folded boxes, checked item counts, and placed a red sticker on every completed carton. The hospital renewed twice because ReadWorks made fewer packing errors than the commercial vendor it replaced. For years, the place was good. Not perfect. Good. Workers were paid by the hour. Supervisors learned to give instructions in more than one way. Families were invited to meetings but could not speak over employees. Nathan made sure every public presentation began with wages, not inspiration. That mattered to me. My father had once refused to let Leo take a workshop placement because the manager called the pay therapeutic. Dad said, "My son is not practicing being a person." Nathan knew that story. He used it in speeches. After Ellen died 6 years ago from pancreatic cancer, ReadWorks became the one place where Nathan and I could be near each other without touching our grief directly. I checked emergency lights. He talked contracts. Leo packed kits between us. We called that healing. Sometimes it was only avoidance wearing work clothes. My flaw was that I had spent a career correcting strangers and a lifetime excusing family. At work, if a fire door failed, I wrote it down. At home, if Nathan missed a promise, borrowed money, or talked around a hard question, I told myself he was overwhelmed. He had resented my standards since he was a teenager. I had responded by lowering them whenever the issue was personal. That was how the trouble found room. The first thing I noticed was the new contract. A national home goods company named Bellwether Market hired ReadWorks to assemble seasonal gift boxes. The order was larger than anything Nathan had handled before. He leased a second packing machine, hired 2 supervisors, and talked about expanding into the empty half of the warehouse. At the contract celebration, he thanked me from the stage. My father taught me that safety and dignity are the same promise, he said. Everyone applauded. Leo clapped longest. 3 months later, Nathan asked me to sign a revised safety manual. I read it and found 2 problems. The new packing machine's emergency stop procedure was vague, and the temp labor policy allowed untrained people onto the floor after hours. "I'm not signing this," I told him. He leaned back in his office chair. Dad, Bellwether wants flexibility during holiday volume. Flexibility is not a guardrail. We have supervisors. You have one machine that can pull a sleeve into the rollers before a supervisor crosses the room. He rubbed both hands over his face. You are not the state anymore. No, I'm the safety advisor whose name is printed on page 1. Nathan took the manual back. You know what your problem is, he said. You think every disagreement is an inspection, and you think every inspection is a personal attack. We did not speak for 2 days. Then he brought me a corrected version with clear procedures, and I signed it. I thought we had done what healthy families do, argued, fixed the issue, moved on. I did not ask why the file history showed the document had been edited at 2 in the morning. That was the first clue. The second came from Leo. One Friday, he got into my truck and placed his lunchbox between his boots instead of on his lap. What happened? I asked. He looked out the window. Nathan says I ask too many counting questions. What kind of questions? Blue pallets come in at night. They go out before morning. We do not pack them. Who does? People with gray badges. Temporary workers wore gray badges. Did you see them working? Leo nodded. They used the red machine. The red machine was what he called the new packer because of its emergency stop bar. Were supervisors there? Mr. Cole. Sometimes Nathan. Why were you there at night? I forgot my radio. Ms. Renee brought me back. I asked Leo whether he had gone onto the floor. He said no. I asked whether anyone was hurt. He said no. Then he repeated the sentence that should have sent me straight to the board. Nathan said the gray badges do not count. I assumed he meant they did not count toward ReadWorks' supported employment goals. I told myself Nathan was handling overflow, something allowed under the contract if properly documented. I said I would ask him. I did not. Ellen's birthday was the next day. Nathan came to the house and we cooked her lasagna recipe badly. Leo spilled sauce on the tablecloth. We laughed harder than the accident deserved because grief sometimes needs an ordinary door out. I protected the evening. That became my excuse. The third clue arrived in the form of a red binder. Reedworks' anniversary was approaching, and Nathan wanted old photographs for display. I brought the original safety binder from my home office. Tucked inside was a blank incident form from the first year. At the bottom beneath my signature line, I had misspelled supervisor as supervisor. I had fixed the typo in every later version. When I set the binder on Nathan's desk, I saw a stack of recent incident reports. The same misspelling appeared on the top page. "Why are you using the old form?" I asked. Nathan placed his hand over the stack. "New payroll system imported the first template. We're updating it. An incident form should not come from payroll." He smiled. "This is what retirement does to you. You start missing the thrill of a problem." I let the joke pass. That decision cost Leo his badge. The Monday before the anniversary, Nathan asked me to attend the weekly staff meeting. Bellwether's regional compliance director was touring the facility, and Nathan wanted the board represented. About 30 people stood in the main packing room. Paper lanterns hung from the ceiling for Saturday's celebration. A 10-year photo wall covered the old loading bay doors. One picture showed Nathan at 28, Leo beside him, and me holding a roll of yellow floor tape. Nathan stepped onto a low platform with a microphone. He announced production numbers, thanked the supervisors, and introduced the Bellwether visitor. Then he called Leo forward. Leo looked at me before moving. Nathan put one hand on his shoulder. "Uncle Leo has been part of Reedworks since the beginning," he said. "But after several recent safety events, our professionals have concluded that full production work is no longer the right fit." The room went quiet. Leo's mouth opened. Nathan continued, "We are helping him transition into retirement with dignity, and Saturday we will celebrate everything he gave this organization." A supervisor named Cole carried over a cardboard box containing Leo's radio, red pencils, spare gloves, and the framed photograph of our father that sat by his station. Nathan held out his hand. "Your badge, Uncle Leo." Leo closed his fingers around the plastic card clipped to his shirt. "No," he said. Nathan's smile tightened. "We discussed this. You said meeting. This is the meeting. I did not say retire." Every instinct in me rose at once. I wanted to cross the floor, take the microphone, and ask who had evaluated him, what incidents they meant, and why no family member or support coordinator had been included. Then I saw the Bellwether director near the front. I saw workers who depended on Reedworks for income. I saw Leo breathing too fast. A shouting match could shut the tour down and turn Leo into the scene Nathan was already describing. So I made my first consequential decision. I walked to the platform, not to Nathan, but to Leo. "Keep the badge for now," I said. Nathan lowered the microphone. "Dad, I'm taking him home. You will send me the incident records and the evaluation before close of business." The board authorized. "I am on the board." Nathan looked toward the compliance director and softened his voice. "We can discuss governance later." "We will." I took the cardboard box from Cole. Leo kept his badge clipped to his shirt until we reached the truck. Then he removed it and placed it inside the brass lunchbox. On the drive home, he stared straight ahead. "I did not touch the red machine," he said. "I know. You do not know yet." He was right. I had spent years telling inspectors, supervisors, and injured workers that belief was not evidence. Now the person I loved most was asking me not for comfort, but for the same standard. "I will know," I said, "and I will not let them decide anything else before I do." That evening, the payroll envelope arrived. I opened it at my kitchen table while Leo sat across from me eating apple slices in their usual order, smallest to largest. The statement showed 9 months of reduced paid hours and hundreds of hours moved into a category called vocational observation. There was no hourly wage beside that category. Leo took his paper calendar from his backpack. Each workday had 2 marks and a number written between them. 7, 8, 7.5. Besides several Fridays, he had written bus late or doctor, which matched days I remembered. We added the hours twice. 417 were missing. That is a lot, Leo said. Yes. Did Nathan take them? I don't know where the money went. He pushed the statement toward me. He took the work. That was the cleaner truth. I asked Leo whether he had ever agreed to unpaid training. He said Cole had handed out new forms after lunch one day and told everyone they were permission slips for updated job coaching. Leo had refused to sign because the boxes were too small for him to read. Cole said Nathan would handle it with family. No one had contacted me. I photographed every page of Leo's calendar and placed the original in my home safe. Then I asked him to make a choice. We can go to Nathan tomorrow and demand an explanation, or we can protect your records first and find out whether this happened to anyone else. Leo considered it carefully. Records first, he said. Nathan talks fast. That was my second consequential decision, and it was Leo's too. We would not let speed decide the truth. The next morning we went to his bank. Leo was fully capable of managing his own account, but Nathan's office had created his payroll portal and still controlled the email used for password resets. With a banker present, Leo changed the contact information, added paper alerts, and removed ReadWorks as an authorized payroll liaison. Then we met Priya Santos. Priya had helped our county design supported employment programs for 20 years. She had reviewed ReadWorks during its first grant cycle and later became an independent compliance consultant. She knew Nathan liked Leo and had no authority to seize files or pronounce anyone guilty. What she could do was explain what the documents meant. We sat in a booth at a family restaurant where Leo ordered grilled cheese and drew lines through the condensation on his water glass. Priya read the pay statement without touching the original. Training can be unpaid in limited situations, she said, but the label does not make productive work unpaid. If Leo was assembling goods sold to a client, those hours are work. He was, I said. Can you prove attendance? His calendar. My driving log. The county mobility van on days I didn't drive. Can you prove output? Not yet. She looked at Leo. Did your station track cartons? He nodded. Red sticker number. I write first and last. Where? Small notebook and lunchbox. Leo opened the brass box and removed a spiral pad wrapped in a plastic sandwich bag. Each page listed dates and carton numbers. It was not a formal record. It was better than memory. Priya smiled at him. You kept your own production log. Machines forget when power goes out. I looked at him. Our father used to say that. Priya explained the next steps. We needed to preserve records lawfully, notify the independent board members, and avoid taking files Leo or I had no right to access. As board safety advisor and building co-trustee, I could request incident reports bearing my signature and inspect safety systems in the warehouse. I could not walk into Nathan's email or copy personnel files from his office. Do not build a good case with a bad act, she said. I had said the same thing to young inspectors for years. We started with the incident reports. Nathan sent 3 PDFs late that afternoon. All claimed Leo had entered a restricted machine area without authorization. One said he reached across the red packer while it was running. Each report carried my electronic signature under reviewed by safety advisor. I had never seen them. The first incident was dated March 14th, when I had been in Phoenix attending my former colleague's retirement. The second was dated May 9th, the day Leo and I spent 6 hours at the hospital while he had a minor hand procedure. The third was dated July 2nd, when the red machine had been shut down for a belt replacement. Nathan had chosen dates that looked ordinary in an office system. He had forgotten that safety work leaves physical traces. I called the machine vendor. As the named safety contact on the equipment file, I could request service history for the unit. They confirmed the machine had been powered down and tagged out all day on July 2nd. I called the county mobility service with Leo beside me. He authorized them to release his ride history. On May 9th, the van had taken him from the hospital to my house. He had never been at ReadWorks. The Phoenix conference organizer emailed me the attendance roster and hotel invoice for March 14th. 3 reports, 3 impossible dates. But an impossible date can prove a report false without proving who created it. I examined the PDFs the way I once examined machine guards, slowly from edges inward. The forms used the old misspelled template. The electronic signature image was the same on all 3, down to a white rectangle around my name. It had been copied from the first-year safety binder scan. The metadata showed the PDFs were created on the same afternoon by a user account assigned to Nathan. That was deliberate. I contacted Sandra Pike, ReadWorks' board treasurer, and Marcus Bell, the independent vice chair. I did not call a full meeting yet. I sent them a short packet, Leo's statement, the 3 conflicting records, and my written notice that my signature had been used without permission. Marcus called within 10 minutes. Are you saying Nathan fabricated safety incidents? I am saying the reports are false, and my signature was attached without my consent. Why would he do that? That is what we need to learn. Sandra asked whether Nathan knew I was raising the issue. He knows I requested the records. He does not know what I can disprove. We agreed on an emergency board session for Thursday evening, 2 days before the anniversary. Until then, payroll access would require the treasurer's second approval record deletion would be disabled by our outside IT provider, and no employee status could be changed. Nathan received notice of those controls at 4:30. He was at my front door by 5:15. He did not knock softly. I opened the door but did not invite him in. You froze my payroll authority, he said. The treasurer added a second approval. Based on what Leo told you, based on reports carrying a signature I did not authorize. His expression changed, then settled. You signed a blanket review authorization when we migrated systems. No, you may not remember. There it was again. Not concern, strategy. I was in Phoenix for the first incident at the hospital with Leo for the second, and the machine was locked out during the third. Nathan's jaw moved once. Then Cole entered the wrong dates. All 3 PDFs were created from your account. Because supervisors submit through me, that is a possible explanation. The board will hear it. He looked past me into the house. Leo's radio was playing a Reds game in the den. You are destroying 10 years of work over a clerical error. I am reviewing 417 unpaid hours and 3 false safety reports. His eyes sharpened. How did you get his payroll statement? It was mailed to the address on file. That information is confidential. It belongs to Leo. He does not understand the classifications. I stepped outside and pulled the door closed behind me. He understood that his work disappeared. Nathan lowered his voice. Bellwether is coming Saturday. Donors are coming. The county commissioner is coming. If you turn this into some public family fight, the contract could collapse and 30 people could lose jobs. That threat landed because it was partly true. A large client could leave. Funding could pause. Workers who had done nothing wrong could suffer. Nathan knew I would carry those people in my head. Then he offered the version of events he expected me to accept. Holiday volume changed the program. Some hours were training. Some were observation. Leo's productivity dropped, and he became unsafe. I was trying to transition him without embarrassing him. I should have talked to you sooner. That is all. If that is all, the records will show it. He stared at me. You always wanted me to fail. No, I wanted you to stop confusing questions with betrayal. He laughed without humor. That is rich coming from you. He walked back to his car, then turned. Do not bring Leo to the anniversary. People should remember him at his best. The sentence told me more than the visit. Nathan was not afraid Leo would be embarrassed. He was afraid Leo would be heard. The preserved records began arriving the next morning. Our IT contractor created a read-only archive of business systems under board instruction. Sandra Marcus and I reviewed categories with Priya advising us on what mattered. We did not search private messages unrelated to ReadWorks. We looked at timekeeping, production safety contracts, and grant reporting. The first layer was Leo's wages. The second was the false reports. The third was a business model built around workers who had been told not to question the math. ReadWorks billed Bellwether by completed carton. The contract also required that at least 40% of direct assembly hours be performed by employees in the supported work program. Nathan reported percentages between 52 and 58. The actual time records showed something different. During the day, employees like Leo assembled cartons. At night, temporary workers with gray badges finished large volumes on the same machines. Nathan counted the nighttime output in the contract totals but assigned many daytime hours to observation or training, reducing payroll while still using those workers' names in grant reports. The gray badges did count. They counted as the labor that made the contract possible. They simply did not count in the story Nathan sold to Bellwether. Leo's notebook gave us the bridge. His first and last carton numbers matched production runs in the machine system. On days when payroll showed 4 paid hours, his carton range often covered 7 or 8 hours of output. The machine log recorded operator badge scans, including Leo's. Nathan had assumed no one would compare the systems. That kind of comparison was what I had done for 34 years. I built a table by hand. Date, paid hours, badge time, carton range, machine cycle, van pickup. I used no secret access and no guesses. Every line came from records the board or Leo lawfully controlled. Leo sat beside me and checked carton numbers with a red pencil. At midnight on Wednesday, he found the pattern I had missed. All Tuesday people too, he said. I looked at the list. He was right. The reclassification had begun with workers whose family contacts rarely attended meetings, Denise, whose mother lived out of state, Paul, who lived in a staff department, Jamal, who managed his own affairs and hated paperwork, and Leo, who Nathan assumed would defer to family. The total was not 417 missing hours. Across 6 workers, it was more than 2,000. We did not contact those employees directly that night. Priya warned that questioning them informally could create pressure or confusion. The board arranged independent interviews with advocates chosen by each worker. Their stories matched. They had been told new coaching rules required unpaid practice. Some signed forms they could not read. One supervisor said everyone had to agree or Bellwether would leave. 2 workers remembered Nathan saying the real pay was keeping the program open. Then the archive produced an email from Nathan to Cole. Move supported staff to training code after 2 p.m. Keep badges active for production tracking. We need the labor ratio for Bellwether, but payroll cannot carry the full volume until Q4. Cole replied, "What if families ask?" Nathan wrote, "Most do not read the stubs. Calvin only checks safety. Leo will repeat whatever we tell him if we keep it simple." I stopped reading. Priya sat across from me in the board office. She did not say she was sorry. She knew pity would make the moment smaller. I thought about Nathan at 9 years old, sitting beside Leo with a blue crayon. I thought about him on the anniversary stage, 10 years earlier, promising ordinary wages. I thought about every speech where he used my father's sentence. My son had not drifted into a technical violation. He had made a calculation about whose work could be taken without resistance. And he had put my name on the safety reports that removed the one employee most likely to keep his own count. The emergency board meeting began Thursday at 6. Nathan arrived with Cole and a lawyer. The paper lanterns for Saturday were visible through the conference room window. Employees were rehearsing a group photograph below. Marcus presented the records without accusation. Nathan's explanation was polished. The bellwether launch had caused a temporary cash crisis. Training codes were used inconsistently. Supervisors misunderstood guidance. No one intended to deprive workers of wages. The safety reports had wrong dates but reflected real concerns. My electronic signature had been applied through a general authorization. He also claimed my judgment was compromised because Leo was my brother. That was his strongest defense, and it was not foolish. Family bias was real. Software mistakes happened. Nonprofits struggled with cash flow. Workers could misunderstand forms. A father investigating a son could look like a private feud. Then Sandra asked one question. "Show us the blanket signature authorization." Nathan said it was in the migration file. The migration file had been preserved. There was no authorization. Marcus asked for the original incident notes from supervisors. Nathan said Cole kept them. Cole looked at him. "I was told to recreate the reports from memory," Cole said. The room changed. Nathan turned. "That is not what happened." Cole swallowed. "You gave me the dates and said Mr. Reed had already reviewed them." Nathan's lawyer touched his sleeve. The board placed Nathan on paid administrative leave pending an independent investigation. Cole was removed from supervisory duty. Payroll and contract access shifted to Sandra and Marcus. Priya's firm would conduct employee interviews, and Bellwether would receive notice of a possible reporting discrepancy before the anniversary. Nathan stood so quickly his chair struck the wall. "You cannot run this place without me." Marcus said, "Then you should have protected it better." Nathan looked at me. "This is what you wanted. Your name back on the door." "My name never left the building," I said. "That was never the problem." He walked out. I believed the immediate danger was contained. I was wrong. Friday morning, Leo received a courier envelope at my house. Inside was a $2,000 check from Reed Works and a separation agreement stating that he had voluntarily retired, accepted full payment for all disputed time, and released the organization and its officers from further claims. A yellow note was attached in Nathan's handwriting. "Sign today, and I will make sure Saturday is kind." Leo read it once. "What happens if I do not sign?" he asked. Nathan cannot decide that anymore. He thinks he can. "Yes." Leo placed the check back in the envelope. "I want to go Saturday." The board had planned to postpone the anniversary celebration. Bellwether's compliance director was already traveling. Families had arranged transportation, and employees had spent weeks preparing. Canceling would protect Reed Works from embarrassment, but it would also let rumor fill the empty room. Priya suggested a different approach. Keep the gathering. Remove fundraising and contract promotion. Turn it into an employee meeting and recognition event. Tell the directly affected people what the board had found, what protections were in place, and what would happen next. No private payroll details, no theatrical accusation, no pretending. Nathan's administrative leave notice barred him from representing Reed Works, but it did not prevent him from attending a public family event in a building his family partly owned. His lawyer advised him not to come. He came anyway. The loading bay looked almost exactly as it had during the first Reed Works celebration 10 years earlier. Folding chairs faced the low platform. The old yellow floor lines were still visible beneath the new gray paint. Photographs of employees covered the wall, but the retirement display Nathan had prepared for Leo was gone. In its place stood the original red safety binder, Leo's brass lunchbox, and 6 sealed folders containing preliminary wage calculations for the affected employees. Nathan noticed the empty display first. Then he saw Bellwether's compliance director seated beside Marcus and Sandra. Priya sat with two independent worker advocates. Several employees had brought parent siblings or residential support staff. Cole was not present. Nathan stopped near the door. "You turned this into a hearing," he said. No Marcus answered. "This is an employee meeting. The board hearing was last night." Nathan's lawyer murmured something to him. He ignored it and walked to the front row. Leo sat beside me wearing his work shirt. His old badge remained inside the lunchbox on the platform. When the room settled, Marcus did not use dramatic language. He said the board had found serious discrepancies in payroll classifications, production reporting, and safety records. 6 employees appeared to have performed paid work during hours labeled as unpaid training. No one would be asked to sign a release or retirement agreement. An outside review was underway, and the board had arranged interim funds so regular payroll would continue. A mother in the second row began to cry. Her daughter Denise reached over and handed her a tissue. Nathan stood. "This presentation is irresponsible," he said. "You are discussing incomplete findings in front of vulnerable employees who may misunderstand them." Jamal, one of the affected workers, spoke before anyone else could. "I understand missing money." A few heads turned. Nathan's face tightened. The Bellwether director rose next. She explained that her company had suspended new orders pending a contract review. Existing inventory would be paid for, and workers would not be required to finish disputed production without a new agreement. Nathan pointed toward me. "This is his interpretation. Calvin has opposed the contract from the beginning. He rejected our flexible staffing plan, and now he is using his brother to regain control." I stood but stayed beside Leo. "The board did not rely on my interpretation," I said. "It compared records." Priya placed a large printed chart on an easel. It showed 1 week from June. No names, only employee numbers. Paid hours ended at 2 in the afternoon. Badge scans, carton numbers, and machine cycles continued until 4:30. Nathan said badge scans do not prove productive work. Employees remain on site for coaching and social activities. Priya nodded. That would be a reasonable defense if the production system did not assign completed cartons to the same badges during those hours. She turned one page. The next chart showed nighttime gray badge labor and the percentages reported to Bellwether. Nathan looked towards the compliance director. "We met the output requirement. You reported a supported labor ratio you did not meet," she said. "That is a separate issue from wages." He changed direction again, then blamed the software vendor. The codes were wrong. Sandra opened the red safety binder. "The codes were changed by written instruction from your account," she said. "The incident reports were also created from your account using a copied signature." Nathan's lawyer stood and advised him not to answer further. For the first time, Nathan obeyed. Marcus then asked Leo whether he wanted to say anything about his retirement. Leo walked to the platform slowly. He opened the lunchbox and took out his badge. "I work Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays," he said. "I do not retire on Monday because somebody writes Friday on paper." A quiet sound moved through the room. Not applause. Recognition. Leo held up the spiral notebook. "I counted my boxes. My dad taught me." Calvin checked. Priya checked. Nathan did not ask me. My son looked at his uncle, and for one moment I saw shame break through the anger. Then he said, "I kept this place open. None of you know what it costs to keep a mission alive." That was the sentence that ended whatever protection I still carried for him. I stepped forward. "You called them a mission when the cameras were on," I said, "and a discount when payroll closed." No one moved. Nathan looked at the photo wall behind me. 10 years of ribbon cuttings, holiday lunches, first paychecks, and smiling workers stared back at him. Marcus read the board resolution. Based on the preserved records, the false safety reports, the attempted separation payment, and the risk to employees, Nathan's administrative leave was converted to termination for cause. He was removed as an officer, and his access to the facility payroll donor accounts and contract systems was revoked. The decision did not settle every legal or financial question. Those would proceed through wage review, insurance, contract remedies, and any agency action that followed. There was no arrest, no instant verdict. Just a keycard deactivated, a title removed, and a room full of people who no longer had to accept his version first. Nathan's phone buzzed as the access notice reached him. He looked at the screen, then at the office door across the loading bay. The green light on its keypad had turned red. The power he believed belonged to him was gone. He walked toward me after the meeting. "You chose him over your own son," he said. I looked at Leo speaking with Jamal near the platform. "No," I said. "I stopped choosing you over everyone you hurt." Nathan left through the loading door. The paper lanterns moved in the draft after it closed. The investigation lasted 7 months. ReadWorks paid back wages and additional compensations to 6 employees through a supervised settlement. Insurance covered part of the loss. Reserves and a repayment agreement covered the rest. Bellwether terminated the original contract but later offered a smaller one after a new executive director and independent payroll controls were in place. The state wage agency issued penalties. A grant administrator required corrected reports and 3 years of outside monitoring. Nathan entered a civil repayment agreement connected to unauthorized expenses and reporting. He was not led away in handcuffs, and I did not need him to be. Consequences that take time are still consequences. Cole cooperated, lost his supervisory position, and completed required training before taking another warehouse job. The board accepted responsibility for trusting polished reports too easily. I accepted more than that. I had helped create a culture where Nathan's confidence counted as proof. I had let being his father make me less demanding when I should have been more honest. For 3 months, I served as interim operations coordinator. Then I stepped aside. The board hired a woman named Tasha Green, who had managed a worker-owned packaging cooperative in Dayton. She changed the staff meeting format so employees spoke before supervisors. Pay statements were printed in plain language. Every worker chose a person who could help review records, but no family member could override the employee's own decisions. Leo returned to work after 2 weeks. Not because I told him to, because Tasha met with him, explained the job, and asked what he wanted. He chose 3 days a week and 1 paid hour on Fridays to train new workers on carton tracking. His brass lunchbox went back beneath Station 4. The red machine received a new guard and a larger emergency stop label, though it had never been the real danger. The real danger had been a system that treated questions as inconvenience. Nathan and I did not speak for almost a year. He sent 2 angry emails, then 1 short letter. In it, he wrote that the Bellwether contract had been failing, donors were impatient, and he had convinced himself he was borrowing hours from people who would still have jobs because of him. He said every small compromise made the next one feel necessary. He did not ask for forgiveness. I appreciated that more than an apology written to obtain something. Later, we began meeting once a month in a public park. We talked about Ellen baseball and the work he was doing for a logistics company where he controlled no payroll. We did not call that reconciliation. We called it contact. Leo decided whether to join us. Sometimes he did. Sometimes he said, "Not this month." I stopped translating that choice into a problem I needed to solve. On the first anniversary of Nathan's termination, ReadWorks held another gathering in the loading bay. No politicians. No giant donor checks. Employees received service pins and envelopes showing the final wage recovery payments. Leo was given the first pin. Tasha asked him whether he wanted to make a speech. He said no. Then he changed his mind, walked to the microphone and held up the old spiral notebook. My brother says records tell the truth, he said. But people have to look. He returned to his chair before anyone could turn him into a symbol. After the room emptied, I found him at Station 4, packing his lunchbox. He placed the notebook inside, then clipped his badge to the handle instead of his shirt. Ready, I asked. He looked at the wall clock and drew 2 lines on the new calendar beside his station. Now I am. We switched off the lights and walked across the old yellow floor line together. For most of my life, I thought protecting family meant keeping their failures from becoming public. I know better now. Protection without truth protects the person causing the damage. Dignity begins when every hour, every voice, and every person is allowed to count. If this story stayed with you, subscribe and tell me in the comments. When does helping family become helping them hide?